Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of A New Era of Dentistry with Ashley Bond and myself, Stephanie Neville. We're really excited about this week. As promised last week, um, we are going to discuss dental drama from a what would you do standpoint. We have a couple of submissions, so we're going to talk through one. And at the end of the podcast, we'll make sure there's a link in the comments if you have a dental drama story you'd like us to discuss on air, completely confidential, no names mentioned. Please make sure you submit it. All right, so we've got one coming from the perspective of an office manager. And they say, I worked in a small office where there was just myself, a hygienist, and an assistant. My doctor was married to a pretty well known news anchor for a local news station. Long story short, she called me at home one night to ask me if her husband was having an affair with the hygienist. At the time, I did have a very strong feeling something was happening, but could not be 100% sure, so I told her I could not confirm that. I later learned that yes, he was indeed having an affair with her. I was pretty close with the doctor, so I decided to have a conversation with him and just tell him I knew what was going on and I had a lot of respect for his wife and asked him to please stop and take into consideration his beautiful family and that it was not worth losing them over her. He denied. Well, our office was in a building that had other suites in it, and his wife got an anonymous phone call on a day telling her that she needed to go check out one of the vacant suites and that her husband was seeing someone. So one morning early before the doctor got there, his wife arrived at our office to confront the hygienist, and she asked me to go get her and bring her to a spare room in our office because she had something to say. I did. The doctor's wife was calm as calm as she could be and confronted the hygienist about how she could do this to another woman, and at the time the doctor's wife was going through chemo for cancer. I wanted to leave the room for them to talk, but she wanted me there as a witness for her. When we walked, after the conversation was over, she asked for our spare key to an extra open suite and wanted me to take her to it. When we walked in, there were blankets on the floor, empty wine bottles, 2 glasses, food boxes. It was really hard to watch her completely crumble in that moment. I returned to our office with her, and the doctor was there by then. I had told his wife I was going to quit, but she begged me to stay to be her eyes and ears. I stayed that day, which was the last work day of the week, and I ended up giving him my key to the office and I quit.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
So much to unpack there.
a lot.
So I've never been in that situation, thankfully. Um, I guess Steph, what would you do if you found out your employer was having an affair on his wife and you knew both? Would you tell the wife? Would you what would you do there?
Well, the complexity of this for me is that she was directly asked. I think
Mhm.
if it was knowledge that I had, and this would be in any situation, but especially at work, I think I would probably stay out of it. But
Yeah.
she was directly asked, which we're all loyal to the doctor that we work for, but of course,
Mm.
lots of spouses are involved in practices as well. And sometimes you have an even stronger relationship with them. I don't know that I could have handled it much differently than the person
Mm.
who submitted this. I may have leaned a little more towards just staying out of it, to be
Yeah.
honest. What about you?
Oh. So I think I would what the person who wrote this did. I think I would have to at least do that. Go to the doctor and say, you have to tell or maybe even give you have to tell within this time. Oh, but that would be so weird if it's your boss. Like, you have to do this. Oh, but if they have a family, oh, I would be so torn. Man, that would eat me up at night. I feel like I would go to the doctor and say, I know this information, or I was given this information. Can you give me more insight into this? If they denied it, though, if I don't have proof, I'm not going to blow up someone's family because I don't have proof. But then with the second for there to be blankets and cheese and wine, and that's insane. That poor woman. I want to know what happened after she quit. So she quit. What happened to the family? I need an update. Did she leave
I know.
him?
Right. I'm wondering that as well. And I'm just rereading it too, just to try to unpack a little bit more, like being suspicious, but then being asked. I mean, what a precarious situation to be in.
Mhm.
And we were kind of skimming over, not on purpose, the fact that the wife is a pretty well-known news anchor in the
Right.
town. So a lot of people probably know this family.
Yeah.
Like,
And this is where I mean, on the hygienist end, there's no excuse. It's
mhm,
not like you don't know this man is married. You work for him. You probably have met his spouse and his children. I wonder even if I would have gone to like confronted the hygienist, since that would be
mhm,
more my peer, and say, "Hey, what's going on here?" Instead of confronting maybe my employer, going to the hygienist and telling her like, "You need to tell the wife." Maybe that's the approach I would take.
I think that's fair too. It could actually cause more drama in the long run because, yeah, peer to peer. I don't know. I think I'm thinking more that I probably would have just gone to the doctor and said, "Look,
Mm,
respectfully, I don't have proof, but your wife is now asking me questions." And I guess if you make it about your comfort in a professional space
mm,
at work
right.
and not about your judgment of the situation, your wife has now come to me about this situation. I personally have noticed these things. It doesn't matter to me either way, but I can't continue to work in an environment like this. So I
Mhm.
would like to advise you to please have a conversation with your wife and resolve this, or I may have to move on. I mean, I think the longer I think about it, that's really what that's about. Because no matter how much we care about our coworkers, boss, peer alike, what they do outside of the office is really none of our business.
Yeah, right. And what are these suites? So is this in the operatory? Like in an operatory suite? Or I'm
I'm
wondering if it was like,
assuming like maybe it's they own like a whole like office building or something, and
okay,
there's a suite outside of the actual practice that's
yeah,
unoccupied is what I'm assuming.
okay. Because I'm like, man, that's brave. Like if it's in like an operatory in a
Yeah.
room, just that's shut.
Yeah.
Man, well, and it's unfortunate. I feel like we hear so many stories of infidelity and with coworkers, and yeah, I just personally wouldn't want to get wrapped up in that drama in a dental
Mhm.
office, even if it didn't really affect me. Like
Right.
that just vibe in the dental office, it would make me uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to work there. So I'm glad she ended up leaving. Hopefully that gave her the peace. And I also like that the wife had her stay in the room. I think that's really important when you have hard conversations with people too. Like this is like a side tip. But
Mhm.
if you ever have hard conversations, making sure someone's in the room with you as like a witness. I know if my dad ever had to, talk to someone like a team member or give them feedback that might not have been the best or let them go. One of us was always in the room, especially too, because it's like male female dynamic, like having someone else in there. So nothing can be said that was done that wasn't done. So I'm glad the wife pulled her in to be a witness for her. Man, I need an update on this wife. Now,
Devil devil's advocate there though. So the wife didn't work there. So by
mm,
agreeing to do that, you're setting like she's not an employee, so you're kind of setting yourself up to end up being a witness in divorce, or I don't know.
oh, yeah,
My mind
that's
goes in a
right.
million different
Subpoenaed.
directions there. Right. Like from the perspective of your dad and his practice and peer-to-peer relating to the practice, totally 100%. You should always have conversations like that with somebody else present. But the wife didn't even work there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
super awkward.
Yeah, well, and I think what I always, because my mom didn't work in my dad's practice, but it felt like she did because she called all the time and was at, "What are you guys doing? Working?" But I think with the spouses too, even if they don't work there, it almost feels like they're an employee
For sure.
because, they're very involved. It's a really unfortunate situation. I'm glad the person that submitted the story got out of that situation. I
Yeah.
hope the wife has gotten out of a bad situation. She's healthy and doing, because she was going through chemo
Yes,
too.
that's what it said. She
Yeah,
was also going through chemo.
it's terrible.
It is. And, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit and say what people do outside of work is their business. But I don't know that I could work for someone, even if I always trusted and respected them before. I think that would just damage that. And I just couldn't work for a person
Yeah.
with that kind of a standard.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
I
Good
mean,
story. I mean, great first story. That's juicy.
it is. It is. It is a great first story. And, it makes me wonder how often this actually does happen. I can think of two
Mm,
different places I worked where everybody was suspicious, either a doctor assistant or a doctor hygienist. And it doesn't matter if the doctor's like, it doesn't matter. I think that close knee to knee relationship sometimes just leads to things.
yeah, right. Glad I only worked for my father. I didn't have to see that stuff,
Yeah.
but I do. I hear it happens all the time.
Yeah.
So let's stop. Let's stop the infidelity in dentistry.
Yeah, let's stop that.
Yeah, right? Oh, great first story. We'd love to hear all of your guys' story, whether it's
Mhm.
one like this, whether it's something with a patient, insurance company drama, team member drama. Submit your story anonymously. We'll have in the show notes the link that you can submit your story to us anonymously. So we don't have to
Mhm.
know who you are, but we can read it on air and give our take on what we would do in this situation.
Yep. And stay tuned next week. We are going to have guest speaker Shelley DeGroff from PPO Advisors to answer some burning questions that we all have relating to network umbrellas, network buyouts. I'm sure people have heard about the Guardian and MetLife event that has occurred. So we are going to lean on her expertise and talk about things that I think will alleviate a lot of anxiety just in talking to her and some things she's already said. I think it will be a great podcast to listen to just kind of take a deep breath and know what to worry about or be proactive about versus really what not to worry about just because of chatter out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so excited to have Shelly on the podcast and learn a little more. And just thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget to tune in next week and we'll be back.